Live from Under Armour Media Day, it's Adam Gorney here with John Garcia and Adam Friedman. We are speaking quietly because we're in a workroom, but we'll be fine. A lot to talk about, guys, after today. The impressions first from the unsigned guys. There are only four. This used to be different. Everybody used to be unsigned, and it was fun, but now it's a little different. Let's start with Terry Bussey at the top. Committed to Texas A&M, longtime Texas A&M commit, but he had 5 or 6 hats up there, but really maybe 3 schools. John, is this? I'm kind of writing this for later. This might be Texas A&M or a flipped Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama has a little bit more traction than maybe I thought they did coming into it. And one of the angles I think the Crimson Tide is going to lean into is the positional projection. Bussey, for us, number 1 athlete in the country, 5-star athlete, quarterback, receiver, DB. He can do everything. Bama's going the receiver route. Everyone else seems to be on the defensive side of it, and I think that could be an interesting approach given the lack of talent in that room relative to what we're used to at Alabama. So he's going to work out at receiver this week. So I think internally that could be where he leans at the next level. And if it's a hint, then I think it's going to be Roll Tide in the end.
Let's talk Ryan Williams. The feeling I got was a whole lot of nothing. Like he's going to visit Auburn. He's an Auburn legacy. He's been there a million times. Cam Coleman says he feels like maybe like he wants to go there. He's also going to go to Texas. But is the feeling, John, that he sticks with the Tide?
I think so. I think coming off of media day, it feels more secure, and this is more due diligence of, hey, reclassified 25 to 24, never taken an official visit. Let me go ahead and see what that's like. And he continued to cite Bama's staff for understanding, hey, this is a reclassification. He's never done any of this, never been to Texas. So this will be sort of a first step there for him. But, we'll read into the visits too much. Auburn's getting the last one, and that's going to be a storyline until it's not. But I do get the feeling that Alabama's in better position than I thought 24 hours ago.
I talked to the other 2 guys, so I'll give my opinion here, and if anybody disagrees. Dominic McKinley, super soft-spoken kid, so it's hard to kind of really get a great read. Still committed to Texas A&M, getting to know that new staff. But Tennessee was talked a lot about. Tennessee was a big-time one there. I think Texas is also going to be watched, Oklahoma. He doesn't know his January schedule other than a visit to Knoxville later in the month. So that's one to watch. And then Stonka Burnside is Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Let's read the tea leaves here. He's from Starkville. He said he already signed, and the school that he signed with is taking care of his mom. And Michael Van Buren is here and is working on him. He also took a late visit back to Mississippi State. I think that one is trending state pretty heavily. So let's move on to the quotables of the day. Jordan Seaton shows up with a nice watch on, very nice, much nicer than my Polex that I got in Times Square. Friedman, your impressions of him, especially in these last few weeks, signing with Colorado, but it looked like some others made a run at him here.
Yeah. I mean, Tennessee and Alabama really made him think. He said that Maryland, despite all the press that the Maryland push got, really wasn't a factor at the end. I thought that was kind of telling about just how he's handled his entire recruitment. I asked him if he had just kind of tried to play coy about Colorado because he didn't really speak very highly of the Buffaloes after he took those 2 visits to Colorado. And he said he didn't really, play coy. He was just kind of figuring things out. And at the end, he put all of the main factors on a table and kind of figured things out and thought, well, I can do everything I want at the big schools, still at Colorado. And that's why he ended up choosing them. He talked about some of the interesting recruiting pitches. And, one of the schools asked him if he wanted to be a rapper. And that's why he was going to Colorado. It was really strange. But, it was great to catch up with him again. He spoke here for about half an hour to reporters, and he had plenty to say. That's for sure.
Yeah, almost not funny awful. Like, it's like, what do you even mean by what you're saying? And do you think that's going to influence the kid? Miles Graham, I give him a lot of credit for what he said today. Super mature kid, very well spoken, almost like very polished and smart. And he kind of stood behind his comments. Like, Jay Bateman left unexpectedly. He learned about it on social media. He had a talk with Billy Napier after it, but it seemed like it was a surprise to everyone involved. And he stood behind the comments that his dad made on social media.
That was really
too.
impressive. Yeah.
And then Jeremiah McClellan, very interesting conversation. He was basically he basically sort of told me that like he felt like the third wheel in that Ohio State class. Brian Hartline was not very happy with the decision and tried to persuade him back into the Ohio State class. But getting that opportunity at Oregon is going to be big for him, John, because the kid could definitely play.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he's the third wheel, that's a heck of a third wheel. A lot of programs would love to have that as the second or first. So it's just sort of the spoils of being Ohio State recruiting the receiver position. You grab a Jeremiah Smith, you grab a Mylan Graham, and everyone else feels like they're lesser than. So that's the pillar of it on the downside. But I think they'll be okay.
We're going to talk about the all-lobby team, and this team is always fun. Who walks into the place and you're like, wow, that kid looks great or comes off really well. And I'm going to talk about a few guys here, not all 10, but let's talk about JaQuancroy, because DJ Fluker, I remember at the All-American Bowl in San Antonio, walked in the room and he was like, oh my God, this kid is massive. And he's 6'5", 339, I think. JaQuancroy is 6'8", and he said 365.
That's a little light.
Yeah, that's a little light. He actually looked bigger than that. He was bigger than our the thing where we take pictures. He was taller than it. So
yeah, this thing.
Yeah, this thing. Yeah. So he is massive. And does he deserve a recruiting bump just because he's so big?
Well, that's the question, right? I mean, he's 6'8", 360 plus, let's say, and he says, "Hey, I'm a tackle." I thought that was interesting talking to him. I'm a tackle. I want to show that I can move. We all saw the viral touchdown that he had on the throwback pass from Jalen Mbakwe. But really, yeah, I think he'll be tested here because this edge group is really strong. If he's going against a Colin Simmons or a Dylan Stewart, how does he hold up trying to get that low around guys that are, in some cases, 100+ pounds lighter than him? I think that will be the biggest question. And if he shows he can do that, he'll absolutely walk out of here as a blue chip guy, at least for us.
Dylan Stewart, I saw him, Friedman, earlier this season. He didn't play, but he was a great looking kid, long, 6'5", but he looked thin during the season. Comes in here and he's jacked up. I don't know if he's been doing his push-ups or whatever, but what did you see from Dylan Stewart that now he could be a legit like 240?
Yeah, he's probably right about there. I can vouch that he's definitely doing his push-ups. His arms look huge. He's huge in the upper body. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles contact from these bigger, stronger offensive linemen during the week. He's not as big in the lower body. That'll be something that he works on at the next level, but certainly looks the part, that's for sure.
Two guys I want to mention too, Colin Simmons and Williams Nwaneri. Simmons reminds me of a leaner Will Anderson at the same stage. We will see. He doesn't have the same kind of power. Will Anderson just mauled people in San Antonio that year and just completely devastated them. But he might be faster off the edge. He's tweaked up. It's like he looks good that way, and then physically, and then Nwaneri walked in and he was wearing a Mario Craver backpack, and I'm like,
a little bigger.
Just massive hands, massive body, long, athletic. I asked him if he felt he was like the number one player in the country, and he said he did. He didn't back down from that. He's confident.
He looked at his frame and was like,
yes. He's like, look at this.
He felt the power.
What do you think? If JJ Smith was in the room, he might feel differently. But so those were two guys that definitely stood out. And then Ellis Davis. So we have to give credit to the Rivals Camp series here. He shows up at the Rivals Combine this was only last April, the April 2022. So actually like a year and a half or whatever that would be. And I wrote that he's 6'7", but needs to add significant weight and could get attention. He's now 275, literally probably gained like 75 pounds in a year and a half. And he said that he just ate everything and really dedicated himself to football. So that was definitely another one that was impressive to see, because you don't see him in that time frame, and he looked like a completely grown man. But let's talk about wide receivers this week to close this out. A loaded group nationally, and here it is absolutely loaded. I think we said five stars. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So let's start, Mike Matthews. Let's start there. Mike Matthews and Cam Coleman. Different players in many ways, John, but both can get open and make plays.
Yeah, both going to fill up the stat sheet. Coleman, just freaky, 6'3", all of it. He's all lobby guy as well, very long, bouncy type of player, and he looks like it. Matthews, much more compact. I think he's well built. I think he's college ready from a height and weight standpoint, and a guy who is just going to be steady, and that's going to be tough for us. How do we judge just the steady polished guys versus the flash freaky guys. And I think this group is going to give us some variance in that conversation, not only with those two, but with many others.
Yeah, the other 5 stars are Micah Hudson, who looked great. Not super huge, but just looked awesome. Ryan Williams, the reclass from 25 to 24, who we've already talked about, and Friedman Terry Bussey, played quarterback in his high school championship. Super smooth, can play all over the field. Really is an athlete. Doesn't look like Cam Coleman, like some 6'5" freak, but just looks smooth, and we know he can play.
Yeah, definitely. This is my first time seeing Bussey in person, and it's really impressive to see what he was able to do at the high school level in Texas, and now being able to see just how big he is. I mean, he's strong, he plays strong, he's super explosive on film, and I'm interested to see how he compares to somebody about the same size, and Mike Matthews, and then even Micah Hudson too, kind of maybe a similar style, both really explosive guys. So it'll be great to see which one of these 8 top 50 receivers can really steal the spotlight.
Yeah, some of the other receivers here that are interesting. Perry Thompson looks almost like a linebacker.
He's the biggest one.
Yeah,
right?
he's big and jacked up. It'll be interesting to see if he could separate. It'll be interesting to see how he plays. Jeremiah McLaurin, another one, supposedly has a broken foot, but is going to play on it. That's what I heard. We will see. But he is one that is physical and tough and can get open, has great hands. And the guy that might not, and I talked to him about this a little bit, Mylan Graham, doesn't get talked about enough. Everybody talked about J.J. Smith in that class, but he is great. We saw him at the Elite 11 this summer. It was phenomenal, and might be the guy. And J.J. Smith will probably have a phenomenal career, but Mylan Graham might not be far behind him. So there's a lot to happen. Practice starts tomorrow night, so we will sleep in unless we all have conference calls at 7 a.m. Other than that, practice starts tomorrow, Saturday. We will have all kind of reports from there. So from Under Armour Media Day, that's Adam Friedman and John Garcia. I'm Adam Gorney for Rivals.